Hello and welcome. We're back. Java with James, although we have little cups today. I'm not sure exactly how or why. So Pietro Fittipaldi is our guest today, as you can see. Pietro, do you know how this show works?
I do. They told me, that I need to bring my favorite drink to you, right?
Right.
So we can drink
So,
it together.
Right. So I hate coffee.
They told me that too.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what else to pick. Maybe like a cup of tea or something?
No, hate tea too.
Really?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you drink for energy?
I don't.
5-hour energy?
What a pro. What a pro.
Right.
I'm going to start now.
Okay.
No, I'm just naturally this annoying. I don't need any pick-me-ups. But yeah, so guest picks a coffee or their favorite drink, morning drink, and I have to sample it with them. So this is, what are we drinking?
I want you to try it out and let me know. Just take, but you gotta like really take a good sip. That's how you drink espressos. Like you gotta, drink
Is it a shot? Do I just knock
no,
it
not
back?
a shot, but like
I'll do it.
Don't just dip your tongue in like.
Wait, is it hot? I'm such a
No.
baby with heat. Oh no, it's like cold. Okay. Is it supposed to be cold?
It's not.
Okay.
It's been here for a while, Oh, jeez, you took a big shot.
Do what I'm told.
What does that taste like?
So, you know when you do a track walk at a racetrack that's had like a lot of on-track activity recently, and like the rubber is like super thick. It's like caked onto the track, and then as you're walking, like your shoes stick to the track, and when you get home, you look at the bottom of your shoes, and they're like, but if you lick that,
that's what it tastes like.
That's what that tastes like to me.
Well,
having done that once or twice,
don't
ask.
To be honest, they put it's an espresso.
Okay.
But
there's a flavor in there.
There's many flavors.
Oh, okay.
So we put a shot of each of the flavors that they have here to see if you could pick up on the taste. But there's too many flavors.
It tastes like there's some kind of flavor. You bastard.
Anyways, at least does it taste a little sugary?
It does. It does
see,
taste a little sweet.
Sweetens your day.
It does taste a little sweet.
We thought we maybe would come up with a very special drink.
How many different flavors are there?
Like 5. 5.
This is the first time that one of my guests has colluded.
It was to see if
with Honda,
your tongue can actually pick up the flavors.
No, it just gets the straight taste of dirt. That is coffee.
Unbelievable.
So
I love my coffee.
Did you do the same to yours?
No.
That's not the rule. You're breaking the rules here, Pietro.
So we had to try it out,
You're such a rebel. I'm going to put that there. Will you enjoy your espresso? Have you always been an espresso guy, or did you graduate into that?
No, so when I moved to Italy, I lived 3.5 years with my brother in Maranello. I was racing World Series at the time and still doing stuff with Haas.
And that was moving from the States?
No, so I was in the UK for 4 years initially, doing like British Formula Renault, all that stuff. When my brother started racing in Europe, so Formula 4, he was in the Ferrari Driver Academy. So we lived in Maranello. I moved there with him.
How long ago was this?
That was from 2017 to 2020.
So he was in the Ferrari Driver Academy all the way back in 2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was there for 3-4 years, and I was also doing the simulator stuff for Haas at Ferrari and Dallara. So we're living there, and I started getting used to just drinking espressos with all the guys. And we would be on the simulator, for Haas, from 9 to 6. And all the engineers were Italian, so every hour and a half, they're like, all right, let's stop for a little coffee break. And you start getting in the habit. Yes, you drink 3-4 espressos a day. So then I started getting used to it, and I toned down a bit now, but I still drink a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, you can't just stop that. You have to
No, I tone down,
down
it's 2
slowly.
a day, and I'm not even kidding. Sometimes in the race, I always need to be caffeinated, I just enjoy it. So I have been drinking, no joke, I have been drinking 5-hour energy before the races, and I do enjoy it, actually.
I believe you.
No, I'm serious.
I believe you.
Promo
it's not a plug.
I'm serious.
It's not a plug. He's not doing that because of that. It's funny. So when I was my rookie year, I was teammates with Serbia, and Serbia used to smash an espresso before qualifying every week. That was his thing.
Yeah, I still either do that or I like to have
you got qualifying coming up in a video, and you're having a little hit.
Yeah, I like it.
So, a couple years in England, go to Italy, you're doing all the hot stuff. When did you leave Italy?
So we left Italy. It was during the pandemic, and
not a great place to be during the pandemic.
Yeah, and then we were in the U.S. and North Carolina. That's where my parents are, and then in 2022 and 2021 we lived in Czech Republic, both me and my brother. Because the team I won the World Series championship with was called Lotus at the time, but they're actually a team Charouz. And my brother was racing for them in F2. And I knew the owners and stuff well, and they had a place for us to stay in Prague. So me and my brother were living there.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
So you're still really involved in the F1 team at this point, but you're living in Czech Republic.
No, at that point, we were living there, yeah.
So were you commuting to Italy quite a bit?
No, so we toned down our simulator program a lot with Haas.
Okay.
So we're not using it too much. It was only before you were actually going to drive the car. So we don't do a simulator program as extensively as other teams. So for me, it was just flying to the races, so I could fly easily from Czech Republic to any race. Yeah, it's crazy.
And now you're living...
Now I'm in Indianapolis.
In Indianapolis.
I know, I'm always just floating around, man.
I mean, it's basically like the Prague of the Midwest. Is
Yeah,
what I've heard a lot of people say that.
I think so.
A lot of similarities.
Yes.
There's some water that runs
There's some
through
water,
the middle,
some trees, a greenway in the back of my apartment
some buildings.
Yeah.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
How's the transition been on the personal side? Because again, you've lived a lot of places, so it's not new to you to move, but Indy's a different world from kind of where you've been. How's it been living in Indy?
So for me, much easier to adapt than any other place because I was born and raised in the U.S., lived in Miami for many years, then moved to North Carolina, and it's very similar to North Carolina in a way. And for me, the U.S. always felt much more like home than any other country in Europe. So when I had the chance to come race in IndyCar and like move full time here, I love it. I really, really enjoy it. So
it's funny because we were talking to Marcus Armstrong, who also lived in Italy for a bit, also fell in love with fancy
coffees. He lived like 5 minutes from where we lived.
Oh, no way.
So my mom was with us at the time, and she would actually take my brother and him to the races.
Oh, no way.
They would drive, It's a small world.
I got the sense that he probably would have rather stayed in Italy than Indianapolis,
really?
But I don't know.
I like Indianapolis more, to be honest.
I like it too. Hey, I've been here a long time. I get it. Okay, so that's on the personal side. How about the professional side, right? You'd sampled the IndyCar life back in 18, and went back to Europe. Obviously had heavy involvement with Haas, and got to do a couple races. It's pretty cool. And then you get the call, opportunity over here. Kind of how did that come about?
So I've, ever since I did my races in 2018, I've always loved the IndyCar series, and I always wanted to come back. And we're trying many years, but you know how tough it is. There's limited seats. A lot of it depends as well if the team has funding or if the driver can bring funding and stuff. So it's a combination of things. And for those years after, there weren't opportunities in IndyCar, and I was doing endurance racing. So that's what I was doing the past 2-3 years, and I had a very successful year last year in WEC with Team Jota. And I had the opportunity to go and race a hypercar this following season with Team Jota. And but this opportunity, I've always been calling the team owners like in IndyCar every year. Like every year, I don't care if there's no opportunity. I'm always calling just to keep them updated and stuff. So I've always been in touch with Bobby, and Bobby said, listen, I think there's an opportunity. We have a sponsor as well that might want a South American driver and stuff. So let's just keep talking, and that kind of evolved. And it got to a point where I needed to make a decision whether I wanted to go and race WEC in hypercar or take a shot at IndyCar. And I said, I've been waiting for this opportunity for a really long time, so I got to go IndyCar. And that's what I did.
It's such like, I don't want to say a double-edged sword because there's no downside, right? But it's a really tough situation for a driver. It's rare that you've got options as a driver.
It is very rare.
So it's you'd already kind of built this good reputation in sports cars. It's a great opportunity, but on the other, it's almost like a bit more of a known quantity. But then you've got this, the allure of the IndyCar thing, which you've always wanted to do. What was like the ultimate kind of deciding factor for you? What made you lean this way?
It's tough because I had such a good year with Jota, and then that natural step to go into the Porsche hypercar program, and it was a deal that it would solidify me as a professional racing driver and stuff. But when I had the shot to race in IndyCar, it's something that I've been wanting and chasing for such a long time that I gotta go for it.
Because it's different now than it used to be, and I say this in the most respectful way, because it used to be that if you came out of a successful open wheel career, you got a lot of options in sports car racing. You could kind of fall into a sports car program, right? It's not that way anymore. Sports cars is cutthroat. There are so many good drivers that it's not like your mentality at that point, I imagine, was, oh, well, if IndyCar doesn't work out, I can just go back to sports cars.
No, it's not. It's not that easy, because there's a big wave in endurance racing now, too. the same as in IndyCar. There's, many cars, there's 27 cars, but there's so many drivers that want to come into the series. It's the same with endurance racing. So sometimes you have an opportunity that might not come back later. And I knew that making the decision to come to IndyCar, but I was like, I want to live with no regrets, and I've been wanting to do IndyCar for so long. I know I can do well in the series, and I went for it.
So what has been, you did a bunch of races back in, how many races did you do in 18? Was it 8 races?
So I did 5 or 6 races in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
6 races.
It wasn't all new, but first full season, obviously. What's kind of been the biggest challenge that you weren't anticipating? Obviously, we know it's competitive. We know there's tracks you haven't been to, things like that. But what's something that you didn't think was going to be as hard as it ended up being?
So I do think that not knowing many of the tracks I'm racing on is definitely difficult. I knew only 4 of the 16 tracks we race on coming into the season. And because I was 1 race over to be deemed a rookie, I don't get like the extra day or 2 of testing, the extra set of tires that the rookies get in practice. So it makes the learning curve, like you need to do the learning curve in a much shorter
steeper.
time. So I think that was for sure the first thing was just a lot of the new tracks, like the street circuits. When you go to them, they're very intimidating, and you have to really have the confidence and trust in the car to just send it into the corners. And there's so many different bumps that when you're new to the track, it's like you need those laps and that experience to get to a certain speed. And the problem with always being a step behind is you do first practice, second practice, and straight into qualifying. And if you're just a little bit, you catch up by the time it's a race, but it's not enough time to have the full evolution that you need to be on pace with like the top experienced guys. So I think that was for sure one of the tougher things. And the series is just extremely competitive. There's 27 cars, and like at Portland last week, we were 7th in the group. I was like 5 milliseconds from being in 4th in the group, which was Graham, and Dixon was in 5th, or Dixon was in 6th and Graham was in 5th, and it was like 10 milliseconds, and I jumped 2 spots. It's so tight. So getting the car really in the right window, it's such a sensitive car that if you get the setup right, you're amazing. If you get it just off, you're a few tenths out, and you're like not making it into Q2. So very tough, and but I'm loving it.
I want to go back a little bit because you had kind of a unique situation. So we've talked to other guys that come from racing families, right? Like we've talked to Graham, we've talked to Marco, and we've talked about how that can be a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes. But for them, it was an easier goal, right? IndyCar was where their families made their names. That was always kind of their goal. Your grandfather had a great career on 2 different sides of the open wheel world. You obviously grew up in the States. You did pursue some stuff in Europe. You kind of went the F1 route, but you always kind of harbored this dream for IndyCar. How did you make that decision? Like when you were a kid and you decided, hey, I like this racing thing. What was your first love? Was it the F1 dream or was it the IndyCar dream?
So I started racing karts when I was 4, and honestly, like I know racing since I can remember.
Well, of course, yeah.
I grew up with it. But honestly, it was never a choice of like, oh, let's try going F1 or IndyCar or NASCAR. Because racing is so dependent on having the budget and finances to be able to pursue a racing career, it was always like going where the opportunity took me. So initially from karting, I started racing late models and NASCAR stuff. That's why my family moved to North Carolina. So the initial dream was actually, let's go NASCAR racing. I won a late model championship at a very short oval at a Hickory Motor Speedway. And then I got the opportunity to join the Telmex program, which is funded by Carlos Slim. It's a program that took Sergio Perez and Esteban Gutierrez to Formula One, and I was the first non-Mexican to join that program. And he's in NASCAR as well with Daniel Suarez, so I thought, oh, he's gonna help me now in my NASCAR dream. But he's like, no, I want to take you to Europe. So I had to make a decision of like leave NASCAR and pursue the open wheel stuff, and
you go where the opportunity is, right?
So it was basically just going where the opportunity was.
Right.
But in a way, I think I was privileged because I got to experience so many different types of racing, and just a lot of life experience as well, living in different places, working with so many different teams and cultures and stuff. It's things that you learn so much from.
Dude, you've lived in more countries than I have houses. Like you've moved around.
I think
so much.
I got in that. I perfected the thing of, all right, we're in a new apartment. Where do we get the furniture? What do we need? Like,
you're great at IKEA.
I'm super efficient.
You're great at IKEA.
Yeah.
You know where everything. That's
And
IO
very
18.
efficient.
I'll get
And not like overloading the place. So when you have to move, it's a pain.
So you don't have a lot of stuff.
No, it's just what I need. You know?
Yeah. That's kind of smart. But I love that though, because I think too many young drivers get fixated on a goal of I want to race in this series, and what you said makes so much sense. No, it's not that I want to be an IndyCar driver or that I want to be an F1 driver. I want to be a racing driver, and so it doesn't matter where the car comes from. I just got to go drive it.
And then for sure, when the opportunity comes where you can make a choice, like it was last year, my dream, and I've always wanted to race an IndyCar, so I'm gonna go and pursue that as hard as I can. That opportunity came, and we went with it. So,
how would you rate your season in IndyCar so far?
It's been a tough season, without a doubt. We've honestly, like, the amount of times that we've been hit like with the short end of the stick this year is
you've had more
crazy,
than your fair share of bad luck.
Honestly. So I've had many seasons where maybe we were not as competitive, but like things would fall our way, and we would get results that maybe we didn't deserve. But this year was the complete opposite. Like there were times that we deserved a very good result, and we never got lucky with either strategy or with getting like hit. I mean, the Indy 500, we had a really fast race car. Our qualifying car was slow. We had like one of the fastest race pace averages in Carb Day. And then we go into the Indy 500 and I avoid the crash, and then another driver comes and just punts me. And then the same in Barber and in Iowa. So there's so many situations and stuff that that just didn't go our way. Having said that, like, we are a step ahead from where this car was last year, so we've been making gains in terms of points and stuff. We are ahead, which is good, and we have a very new crew. When we started the season, new crew on the 30 car, new engineers and everything. So it was a whole process of gelling, and I think for sure from a few races ago to now, like, we've really been performing very well. Portland again, like, it was unfortunate what happened with Dixon. I don't think I should have been penalized. The next penalty was definitely my fault, but we had like super fast pace. So we've been really in that window now that we're performing really well, even in Gateway and in Iowa. So 2 races to go. We got to make the most out of it.
So that tells me that 2025 is going to be a whole lot smoother for you. And
absolutely.
Because I watched this happen actually. As you're talking, I think back to Ericsson's rookie season. We were teammates. And it was the same thing. Every track was new, and P1 it was this far behind, P2 is this, qualifying is this, and then by the end of the race, spot on. And so next year, come back the next year, he's winning races in 500s.
I think the evolution you do from year 1 to year 2, especially when you're going into a series where like there's limited knowledge, at least for myself as a driver with the tracks, as well for the crew and the team. It was a very, obviously the 30 car is a car that raced last year, but we had new people in the car as well, new engineers that came from different teams. So it was like a new group altogether with a driver that doesn't have a lot of experience in the series, and like trying to make the most out of it. So it was very, very difficult for everyone, but I'm proud of the job we did and how we came together. And the performance for sure is there the past few races. So I'm happy about that. And 2025, the evolution is going to be much higher.
So look, I mean, the team knows how to win.
Yeah.
You got the job because Bobby and Graham, everybody believes you know how to win, and I believe that can happen sooner rather than later. So
thanks,
have a great last couple rounds. Enjoy a nice off season,
Yeah.
and can't wait to see what 2025 has in store for you, buddy.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.